All right, first, just for both of you, you can answer independently. I was curious what about this script in particular drew you to the project and made you want to eventually make it?
The first thing that attracted me to the script, to Meadowland, was that it was a story that was very risky, and it had the opportunity to go really deep and affect people, and you know, I really like movies that make me feel uncomfortable, and I could tell from the script that it could really be a visceral experience that could get something out of people that they maybe didn't know they were ready to feel, or, you know, something along those lines. You know, for example, I love the movie Requiem for a Dream. It's hard to watch, but I love it because it really puts you right up, you know, it throws it in your face, and that's what I like about it, because it's not safe, and it takes you on a journey that's almost painful at times, and that's what I think I liked about this script.
Yeah, I responded immediately to how risky the script was as well, because the characters were not your typical characters, particularly this female character was not likable in the way that I think many female characters are expected to be. And I really respected this choice that this script was making, the filmmaker was making once I sat down and talked to Reed, that she would be an unusual character, at times dangerous, unpredictable, and unsympathetic, irresponsible, reckless. These are all words that are not often used to describe female characters. So I was thrilled at the idea that I could help bring that to life.
Interesting. Now you both sort of played dual roles in this production.
Yeah.
You acted as a producer, and you did the DP and directing. Just talk about your experience as coming into this project doing two different things. I think that's sort of a new thing for both of you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, I wasn't going to take on both roles without having Olivia's blessing, because as a director, I took it very seriously that I'm there to serve, you know, I'm there to be there for her, and I didn't want to do it unless I knew that she still felt safe, and that was the most important thing. And once that, you know, once Olivia expressed enthusiasm at me doing both jobs, and I kind of felt like I could do it, and she was supporting me, and you know, it was more the anticipation of it that made it difficult, and then once we got into it, it was pretty much like day one was a little dicey at the beginning for me in my head. I was in my own head like, am I doing this right? I don't know if I know who these characters are yet, even though we've been working so hard together for like over a year, you know. And I think I was just like first day jitters, and once we got to the end of the day, I was like, all right, we found a rhythm, you know, I had a really great crew, and it's just finding a way to divide your time wisely. But also you have to prioritize what is your priority, because if you're doing those two jobs, you either have to be really good at one of them so you can prioritize the other that needs your attention, and in the case of directing, you've got to always prioritize the actors and the story. You can't let anything else take it over, because it doesn't matter how beautiful your film looks. If the story's not there, and the performances aren't there, and the story's not drawing people in, then who cares? No one's going to see it. So that is the most important thing. So I prioritized the story, and I tried to do the DPing, like, you know, do most of the work in pre-production, and then just let it be what it was when I was on set. Just stick with the decisions I made, or make quick decisions, and then get right back to the story, because that's what it's all about.
I think that, you know, when you're doing two jobs on a film, you have to recognize that you're not going to do those two jobs the same way you would if you were doing them one at a time. You know, combining them affects how you are in each role. So for instance, as a producer and an actor, I was a different type of producer because I was an actor in the film, and I was a different actor in the film because I was a producer. And I thought that was really rewarding. I now encourage all my actor friends to produce a film, because you understand the logistics of what goes into making a film, on a very, on a real level, and you understand how lucky we are to be able to have one day of shooting on a film. It's a Herculean effort that goes into financing a film, hiring the right crew and cast for a film, getting the locations for a film. If you're actually there on the day and ready to shoot that film, you've won. That's the goal. And I think if actors entered into a day of work with that awareness, it would affect the way that they approached the process, which can at times seem very difficult for an actor, that we're being asked to focus and relax in an environment that is not conducive to either. And yet, if you have been a producer on something, you understand just how incredible it is that you have the opportunity to tell the story. And I think that just informs your process as an actor. So I loved taking on both roles, and I think it's made me a better actor, and it's made me want to produce again.
This is sort of geared towards you, Ms. Morano. There's been a lot of outcry recently in Hollywood about inequality in Hollywood, especially in relation to women working in the industry. You're a woman that's now working in two of the most male-dominated fields, which is fantastic. What have been some of the challenges that you faced in that? And then sort of what do you think are some of the steps that can be taken to get to more of a place of equality?
I think, it is a big topic of discussion these days, inequality behind the camera, female directors, female cinematographers, and I think that, it started out simply because it was a male-dominated field, and there was a lot of intimidation with, technical equipment, and also being in charge of a large group of predominantly male crew. For me, I didn't really notice that in school when I started out. I didn't see that the opportunities were limited. I just thought, oh, I want to be. I went to school originally for directing, and I just thought, oh, I want to be a director. Like, okay, cool. And then I worked on my first set, and I was watching the DP. The DP happened to be male, but it never occurred to me that DPs weren't female either. So I just didn't know that much about the industry. So I think my being so naive was what actually helped me go forward so quickly, because I just never, I think if you're thinking about being held back, it can sort of, you're mentally psyching yourself out. And if you're thinking about the numbers and you're thinking, and it's not wrong, like it is a topic to be discussed, it is something that needs to be addressed. But unfortunately, it's something that a lot of us have no control over. But the women who are working towards it and want to direct and want to shoot, they just need to keep doing it and ignoring what, anyone says. I mean, I haven't personally faced a lot of discrimination. I'm sure I have that I don't know about. Like, I know there were jobs I didn't get, maybe because I was interviewing and I was 4 months pregnant, or, agents who didn't want to represent me because I was pregnant and they thought I was going to go be a mom and never work again in this town. But they just didn't know who I am, and I don't, let anything stop me. And that's how a lot of these women are in this industry, and they want to do it all, and they can do it all, and actually, women are really good multitaskers. And I think that's the thing, if studios were to pay more attention to that fact, they would realize that, there's a whole untapped, you just can widen your pool of choices, of creative choices in terms of directors and shooters, and get some new talent, or talent that hasn't been given that opportunity before on a larger scale. And I think that's where the real issue is. It's on the larger scale with the studios, because there is this fear, and the proof is in the pudding, where many women have had to overcome a lot in order to get their films made, and I think it's just interesting to me that there are these new male directors, and then their second film, they're making $100 million, superhero movie, and it's like, there's something a little weird about that. And then the women, their second film, it's like another indie, and they're like scrounging for pennies, but yet they got critical acclaim on their first film. So it's like, what's the difference there? It's just, last time I checked, gender has nothing to do with whether I can hold a camera or tell a story. And if anything, women are extremely emotional creatures, and storytelling is an emotional art. It's the art of conveying emotions. So why wouldn't women be, it shouldn't be about gender. It's like anyone can do it, but especially I think women are well equipped to do so.
Yeah, and it all goes back to the audience and what they demand. If the audiences support films directed by women, then studios respond to that demand. I think a lot of it has to do with studios fearing they won't be able to control a woman as easily as it is to control a man. And I think that stops them from giving them large opportunities, because when a director is directing a huge tentpole film, they're really being controlled by a studio. They're at the mercy of this huge corporation that is depending on a certain outcome. And I think that we have to get rid of that kind of institutionalized sexism that stops us from believing that women are as good at collaborating. And so I feel the sea change. I'm so proud to be a part of it. And I think audiences are speaking up now and saying, we love films directed by women, about women, and, eventually things will change based on that demand.